Okay, let's jump right into this explainer with a mind-bending, honestly, kind of terrifying question. What if your conscious mind is just a latecomer to a decision that's actually already been made? We go through our entire lives feeling like we're firmly in the driver's seat, but modern neuroscience, well, it's suggesting something a whole lot more mysterious. Just think about the device you're watching this on right now. You made a conscious choice to click on this explainer, right? But did you genuinely decide to click it in that exact split second? Or did your subconscious actually pull the strings before you even realized it? That bizarre gap between our brain acting and our conscious self catching up is exactly what we're unpacking today. Section 1. The illusion of choice. Are you the CEO or just the factory output? Section 2. The Libet experiment. A crack in the illusion. To really wrap our heads around this, let's use a mental picture. Imagine your conscious mind is a CEO sitting in a corner office reading a finalized report, while your unconscious brain is the bustling factory floor down below, making the actual product. The very first crack in this illusion of top-down control came from a scientist named Benjamin Libet back in the 1980s. But to understand his famous experiment, we first need to know a concept called the Bereitschaft potential, or readiness potential. Basically, this is a measurable buildup of electrical activity in the brain that signals the body is getting ready to move. It is literally the factory machinery powering up. And what we're looking at here brilliantly illustrates Libet's genuinely shocking discovery. He found that the brain's readiness potential sparked and started building up long before the participant actually felt the conscious urge to move their wrist. Think about that for a second. The brain was physically acting before the mind was consciously deciding. So the absolute crucial point is right here on this timeline. The physical movement itself happens right at 0 milliseconds. But that unconscious physiological process, the readiness potential we just talked about, that begins a full half second or 500 milliseconds before the movement even happens. The wild part? The conscious awareness of the wish to move doesn't kick in until 150 milliseconds before the action. That means your brain is already gearing up to act a full third of a second before the CEO even gets the memo. Crazy, right? Now, I know what you might be thinking. A fraction of a second delay is a little uncomfortable, sure, but maybe it's dismissible. After all, it's just a simple wrist flick, right? Well, if that fraction of a second makes you uneasy, just wait until we look at modern fMRI neuroscience. We're going to see exactly how deep this delay really goes when it comes to far more complex choices. Section 3. 10 seconds ahead. Escalating the mystery. To see just how deep this rabbit hole goes, researchers in Berlin used some seriously advanced fMRI machines. They asked participants to sit inside a brain scanner and perform a highly specific task. Stare at a screen showing a stream of constantly changing letters. Freely decide to press a left or a right button, and then remember the exact letter that was on the screen the exact moment they consciously made up their mind. Notice the really clever methodology here. The screen updated with a brand new letter every 500 milliseconds. This gave the scientists a highly precise, time-stamped map. It allowed them to track the exact moment the conscious mind claimed it chose the button, and then compare that directly to the real-time blood flow happening in the brain. And the data they uncovered from this? Absolutely staggering. By looking at specific brain regions, namely the frontal polar cortex and the precuneus, researchers revealed something borderline terrifying. Using statistical pattern recognition, they could actually decode and predict the specific outcome of the subject's choice up to 10 full seconds before the decision reached the subject's conscious awareness. 10 seconds. As the PNAS Journal Club perfectly summarized, this staggeringly high predictive power suggests that our brains hold an unconscious starting point for complex choices, extending way, way beyond simple wrist flexes. It literally means that high-level control areas of your brain begin preparing a decision an eternity, neurologically speaking anyway, before you feel like you've decided a single thing. Section 4. Determinism versus libertarianism, the philosophical duel. You can imagine findings exactly like these throw absolute gasoline on a philosophical fire that's been burning for centuries. The debate here usually falls into two fiercely opposing models. On one side, we have the deterministic model. Think of this like a domino effect, where every single event strictly dictates the next in an unchangeable line. On the other side is the libertarian model, which is more like a branching tree, where genuine alternate possibilities exist at any given moment. Let's break this down just a bit further. Determinism basically argues that natural laws and prior causes leave absolutely zero room for genuine choice. Meaning, if your brain activity predicts your action 10 seconds out, well, your free will is just a comforting illusion. Conversely, libertarianism insists that humans absolutely must act as the true originators of their decisions. Without true alternate possibilities, they argue, it becomes incredibly difficult to hold anyone morally responsible for their actions. Section 5. The power to veto. Pushing back on the paradigm. So is our conscious CEO entirely useless? Are we just passengers? Well, a remarkable 2016 study, also out of Berlin, gave us a massive glimmer of hope. Researchers proved that even if the brain starts preparing a movement unconsciously, the conscious mind actually has the power to veto or intentionally cancel it. You can hit the brakes on the factory floor, but you have to do it fast. The absolute point of no return is exactly 200 milliseconds before the action actually happens. Adding even more to this pushback, a recent study by the HSE Institute confirmed that Libet's original paradigm might actually be deeply flawed from the start. They found that the readiness potential might just be background noise, like a general dynamic of the brain just preparing to do something, rather than a strict predetermined choice. Plus, they found that simply training the subjects actually changed when they became aware of their own intentions. So the plot definitely thickens. Section 6. Redefining human agency. You are the system. As we synthesize all these sometimes conflicting discoveries, we really have to rethink what it means to be a conscious agent. Renowned scientist Sir John Eccles once pointed out a really beautiful parallel here. Just as Galileo used simple metal balls on an inclined plane to unlock the grand physical laws of the universe, neuroscientists today are using incredibly simple button presses to unpack the staggering, profound mysteries of human consciousness. So, what is the big takeaway from all of this? Well, first, unconscious neural processes definitely do often initiate our actions. But second, and crucially, your conscious mind acts as an essential control center with absolute veto power. The conscious CEO might not be the one building the product down on the factory floor, but they still have the power to halt the entire assembly line. Ultimately, defining free will just by looking at basic risk movements vastly underestimates your incredibly complex human cognition. You and your brain, you are one beautifully intertwined system. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this somewhat haunting reflection to ponder. The next time you make a choice, whether it's picking up your morning coffee, deciding what to wear, or even clicking on another explainer, ask yourself, is the voice inside your head actually making the decision, or is it just the last one to be notified? Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.